I'm going to redeploy this thing to GitHub Pages and see where we are. It's been a long time, so let's do a yarn deploy, which will automatically run build, which actually turns all of our JSX into real JavaScript so that it can run on a web server, which our development server just does as we go. Okay, that happened. It pushed it back up to GitHub Pages. It does take a minute for that to build on the GitHub Pages side. So let's see how this works with routing. Or if it works with routing. Let's sign in with GitHub. Yeah, that went away right. Excuse me, went away right away. So we've got a problem already. Oh man, looks like routing doesn't work. Sign in with GitHub. Something's wrong. Unauthorized domain. This domain is not authorized to run this operation. Add it to the OAuth redirect domains list in the Firebase console auth section sign in method tab. So the error message is telling us exactly what we need to do. Firebase console auth section sign in method tab. Add it to the OAuth redirect domains list. In my case, it's bootcamp18s1.fretless.com. In yours, it's probably your username.github.com, or .io, I mean, right? So, Firebase console, auth section, sign in method tab. I bet that's under the advanced stuff down here. Oh, authorized domains. So I've got localhost and firebaseapp.com. Let's add a domain. In my case, it was basecamp18s1.fretless.com. And yours, it should be your username.github.io. Let's add that. Let's see if it works. Now, I think refreshing is still going to break. Something with routing is wrong. But if I click this again, let's try again. Sign in with GitHub. Still complaining. Bootcamp18s1.fretless.com. Fretless.com. Type custom. I changed it. What's the problem? I sure did, Basecamp. Did it again. Bootcamp 18s1.fretless.com. Add. Let's try that again. Okay, there it is. Clicking around does all this. My URLs are changing. And this may just work a little better for you, but what happens if I refresh the page? It doesn't work. It's actually looking for /notes/ whatever. It's actually looking for files named that, which don't exist, right? So the web server has to actually be configured to do this stuff because remember, there's only a single page, index.html. That's it. So our web server has to be configured to always send all requests to index.html and let it figure out what to do it from there using JavaScript. But the GitHub Pages server is not configured that way. Bummer, man. If you look at the README for Create React App, There is an explanation for a couple of ways to fix this. The easiest way, do you know what happens if you put a hash at the end of a URL? And then you could like stick something after the hash. So that's an anchor. So if you have like a name or an ID on an element on the page, and you link to that page, hash whatever that ID is, it'll actually scroll the page down to that. So this is a fragment of the page. So everything after the hash gets ignored. And it just goes to the page that it would go to if the hash and everything after it weren't there. So then you can just use the hash to do something else if you want. So what you can do is configure the router to just put a hash before all your routes. So if I went to /noteherder hash /notes or something like that, it's just seeing /noteherder really. So it's just going to grab index.html. And then the router can just manage all of this. So since our server isn't configured to do the kind of routing that we want to do, which is using some HTML5, the HTML5 history object, we have to do it the old school way by sticking a hash in the URL, which is ugly, and we'd rather not do it. But if you want to host a React app that uses React Router on GitHub pages, you have to do it that way. If we were hosting somewhere else, like Firebase, we wouldn't. But if we're using GitHub pages, we have to do this. So it's not hard. So let's just do that. Super easy, in fact. Let's go to index.js, where we import browser router as router. Let's just import HashRouter as router. So there's just a separate component in React Router, and if you use that instead, if you use HashRouter instead of browser router, it just builds all of its routes that way. So let's look at that. So on my local copy here, let's just go back to localhost 3000 and notice what it does. /hash/notes. So the server's really just seeing this much. It's ignoring everything after the hash because it thinks that's a page fragment. So it's just loading index.html. Now, of course, our dev server was always configured to understand routes anyway, but now it would work even if it weren't because our routes are just after this hash. So that ought to work on GitHub pages. So use HashRouter. Put that in parentheses for GitHub pages. So now it'll just build our routes a little differently. It'll just always stick a hash before our routes. It'll work until you try to refresh while you're on a deep link. Yeah, so if you're on like a specific note and you hit refresh, it'll break. As you click around, it's fine. It's not until you try to go directly to one of those routes. So let's do... I need to do yarn. Yes, you need to yarn deploy again. So I'll do that, and then I'll wait a moment. And hopefully, it'll start working. Start out on localhost 3000 real quick, just to make sure it's not because you were already on a different page. Okay. Let's go back here. Yep, here we go. Yep, you have to do yarn deploy again. So here I've got note herder /hash/notes. So if I go to /hash/notes /some ID, and then I refresh the page, it goes right back. So it works. So anytime you're using React Router and you want to host it on GitHub pages, you need to do this. There are other ways around it, but this is going to be the easiest way and the best way. Yeah. Okay, like locally? And you redeployed? Does it work locally? And do you see the hashes? Okay, give it a minute and try again. It may have just not quite finished on GitHub pages yet. There's a chance. What is not working? Like nothing's working? Okay. Okay. Does it show hashes in your URL? Okay, then it's not getting the HashRouter version yet. Make sure you start from just the base URL. So if you were already on that page before you redeployed, make sure you go back to just your root. Make sure you're not already on like /notes/something. Make sure you start back at just your username.github.io/noteherder. Make sure there's nothing after noteherder. Yeah, that's wrong. So it needs to be /noteherder. So basically you are already browsing that page with the router configured the other way. So you're already on an invalid URL. So use the back button to get back to where you started. Do you know what I'm saying? So you were already browsing the old version before HashRouter, and then you clicked around or whatever, and that put you on /notes, and that's not the right URL. That's why the refreshing didn't work. So you were already on the wrong URL before you redeployed. So you need to get back to the correct URL.
So the local thing, I just need to be...
Don't worry about the local one, no. On the local one, yes, /notes is fine. But that's precisely what doesn't work on GitHub pages. So go back to your repo and click on your link again. Because you'll see that is /noteherder or whatever you named your repo. So before we configured HashRouter, that would have automatically redirected you to /notes. But that URL doesn't work on GitHub pages. So you were already on the bad URL before you redeployed. So redeploying didn't just automatically fix that. You need to browse back to your GitHub pages site.
So how do I browse back?
However you got there in the first place. I mean, you could look in your package.json. Hopefully you put it in. Did you not put it here on your repo? So look in your package.json. How did you get there in the first place on GitHub pages? Well, look in your package.json at what you have for your homepage value. That should be it.
That's what I meant.
Are you sure?
Yeah. I don't have that in /.
I mean, it's not going to be same as mine, but